What is self-care? Why is it important? And how can you use self-care to make your day better? Today, you're going to hear all of that from and more from our special guest, Bernice Lowe Flowers. Bernice Lowe Flowers is an author, journalist, mother, and a self-care enthusiast. And she's here to tell us all about self-care. How are you today, Bernice?
I'm doing wonderful, and thank you for having me, and thank you for asking.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming. Bernice, lately I've been seeing on social media so much about we need to incorporate self-care in our day-to-day lives. A lot of people have been talking about that, but what I've observed is that not many people are telling us what self-care is and why it is important. With you being a self-care enthusiast, can you define what self-care is? What does it mean to you?
You know, a very long time ago, Kimberly, I developed nurturing practices and lifestyles to support my well-being so I can stay on top of my game. So just to clarify, I'm not a narcissist, I'm not selfish or someone with an inflated ego. But, self-care to me is important. Just taking care of me is important. If I neglect myself, I cannot be a better person to others. The more equipped I am, I'll be able to assist others along the way. Now, self-care. When I think about self-care, I think about 3 nurturing measures I embrace and want to share with you are self-love, self-kindness, and self-acceptance. These steps help to sustain my health and keep me grounded spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, and socially. That's how I define self-care.
Thank you, Bernice. That's a wonderful description of self-care, and I have not heard it quite that way before. But what I want to know also is, why should it be so important to everyone to take in self-care? What are the benefits of self-care? You touched on a few of them, but can you go a little bit deeper into the benefits of self-care?
Okay, personally, self-care includes self-love, okay, which entails appreciating, valuing, loving, and rewarding me. Just as the same as I observe and admire other people or individuals, their good qualities and their accomplishments, I consciously welcome and acknowledge my positive attributes. Another self-actualization is self-kindness, where I entertain personal, internal conversation and positive self-talk. I've been doing that a long, long time. Since I was a kid, I was doing these self-talks, pretending that I had friends, imaginary people around me. So I've always been talking, to myself. And I participate a lot in activities that bring me joy. And also, I permit myself to be imperfect. Saying that and recognizing what is real or unattainable in certain situations. I set boundaries. That's a part of self-care. Knowing who you are, assessing and prioritizing your task. Some people don't like to use the word no, but I use the word no because I need to know when to cut back. That's a part of self-care. Just waking up in the morning, for me, I wake up like at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I don't get out of the bed. I just lie there and I meditate and I think and plan my day. It's important sometimes to just unplug so you can recharge. All these little things are self-care. Maybe just going for a walk, embracing nature, looking at our diet, maybe exercising. All those things are important. Yes, if you have the money to go to the spa to get a nice massage, that's a part of self-care, taking care of me. I'm not selfish, but self-care for me is taking care of me. And if I can't take care of me and prepare myself for what's to come, I can't help my family, I can't help my friends, I will be no good to my spouse, all these things. So self-care is important. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's how I see self-care.
You did answer my question, Bernice. And when you were speaking about some of the things that you can do for self-care, it made me think about one of my favorite self-care routines. I like to have a personal date night with myself. I like to take myself out, maybe have a dinner or movie sometimes, just to take that time to be within myself. That's one of my favorite self-care techniques. Maybe I'll share another one later. But you touched on so many things right there. And one of the things that stood out to me was when you said embrace imperfection.
That's right. Sometimes I think we're so hard on ourselves, that everything just has to be right. It has to be perfect. That's not in my DNA. I have to be imperfect. If I'm not imperfect, I cannot be my best self. I learn from errors, or some people might say mistakes. So, I always use this as said, I don't strive for perfection. I strive for sustained excellence. Mm-hmm. Because if you're perfect, that means you don't have any more room to grow, nothing to learn, nothing else to accomplish because you've done it all.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I look at my imperfections. I'm not perfect, and there's nothing wrong. I think you have to. I believe you have to be comfortable with yourself to say that I'm imperfect, and that helps me to grow, to aspire, to be better, to excel.
And that really sounds like that ties into that self-talk and that self-love, being able to love yourself enough to embrace 100% who you fully are.
I call that self-acceptance, just tolerating me. Nobody has to tolerate me, but I can tolerate me, cuddling every part of myself, being at ease and comfortable in my own skin and not judging myself harshly, recognizing my strengths and continuously proving my shortcomings.
Yeah. Another thing that stood out to me was to hear you say no. Something as simple as the 2-letter word no and setting boundaries. Can you just talk about that just for a moment? So many people have a hard time saying no.
I think many of us are conditioned that when we say no, we feel guilty. That guilt factor comes in, comes into play. For example, you know that your plate is full already, okay? You've got family commitments, you've got personal commitments, you may have elderly parents you may have to take care of, things like that. But saying no, I don't feel guilty about it. I've conditioned my mind to say no. And saying no is not because I'm harsh or I don't want to help you, but this vessel sometimes needs to recharge. And the only way I can recharge is to unplug. So I don't have a problem saying no. I don't just say no deliberately, but I know when I've reached my limit and I say, okay, it's time for me to back off. Let me just exhale and smell the daisies, smell the roses, and just relax my mind and my body. Just don't do anything. Just let my mind wander and enjoy the atmosphere, the energy, and look at all the surroundings. A lot of us probably don't take time to just embrace nature. So when I say no, it's because I just want to spend time with me. That's self-care. And don't feel guilty about it. Because if you are worn out and you're tired, how can you be effective in what you want to do to help your family, your children? Some things I remember when my kids were younger, they come in from school, I come in from work. Sometimes I said, okay, this is mommy's time. Let me just lock myself away for a few minutes before I start dinner and everything. And just depress, just deflate, because if you're too stressed out, you get irritable, kids can't talk to you, you got to help with assignment. So I think it's a behavior I've cultivated many, many, many years ago. Yeah.
That's something very important we have to look at and not run from. Being able, even if you do have children, being able to step away from time.
Or even a spouse, you spend time, apart, just a few hours here, a few might be there, and then you come together and enjoy each other. Yeah.
Refreshed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You rejuvenated.
So it sounds like you really you give whatever you're giving your energy to, you can give 100% to that thing if you have given 100% to yourself first.
Yeah, you have to. What is that thing they could say? Self-preservation is nature's first law or something like that?
I haven't heard.
Yeah, I think that's what self-preservation is nature's first law. Don't quote me on it, but look it up. It's not being selfish or you're boasting that you don't want to help or any insensitivities or anything like that. And another thing, just simple indulgences, teaching you how to be kind to yourself, how to treat and energize your body. If you have the money, you can go get a nice massage, whatever makes you and happy. It's not the external factors or other people. It comes from within. What's best for you, how you unwind. And you just do those things, just being, kind to yourself, but always engage in relaxation. And sometimes you don't need to be around a lot of people to really relax. Sometimes if you want to just sit down and say, oh, I'm going to just look at this book, I'm going to read the book, a few pages here, or listen to some nice music, the candle lights, or have a nice warm bath, whatever makes you relax and being you.
That is so good. I want to ask you this question, and I want you to just kind of touch on, what if there's someone out there who listened to this podcast today and they feel that I'm not loving myself enough, I'm not appreciating myself enough, I'm not taking care of self? What advice can you offer, or what can you suggest to them, Bernice, to help them start the journey? Where is step one for them?
Start with baby steps. You don't have to have this big agenda. For example, you may just want to, let's say tomorrow, you may just want, let me go walk around my block. You may not, you don't necessarily have to be in a gym, but let me just take a stroll. It's nice weather now. Let me just take a stroll in my neighborhood for about 10, 15 minutes. You don't have to do a mile. You start that way. this evening, I'm going to just relax. I'm not going to use my cell phone. I'm not going to be texting. I'm not going to be looking at TikTok or even television. Just sit and relax. Just have a glass of wine if you want to. If you're a teetotaler, you don't, drink or anything like that, just sit and reminisce about your childhood, or maybe, fond memories like a family reunion. Just relax your mind, because, self-love and self-kindness and self-acceptance, they're all pampering and are necessary because they make you feel better. When you pamper yourself, think of a baby. When a mom holds that baby, pamper that baby, that child might be crying, but it's so soothing and relaxing. The child stops crying. Go back and think of when you were a child, how you felt. You were just carefree as a little child. You didn't have any worry or concerns or anything in the world. Just those three things: self-love, what you do to nurture yourself, self-kindness, self-acceptance, and pampering are all necessary because they make you feel better. Now, loving yourself does not lack empathy or in consideration for other people. People might say you're selfish because you're all into you. No, it's just taking time out for you so you can be better to another person. Now, because as humans, we all have a natural need to feel good about ourselves. So when we embrace and practice these wholesome behaviors, we tend to develop and cultivate positive relationships that are healthy and that assist with boosting our mental, social, and emotional stability. So, I hope that by sharing these me time and self-care tips, you'll agree that the me time, it's important. And another thing in self-care, our diet. That's important too. What we put into this vessel, watching what we eat. That's a whole nother conversation. But just taking care of you is important. And you start with baby steps. Every day you carve out 30 minutes. Okay, well, I'm not going to do anything when I get home from work. I'm going to just sit and relax. You may not even want to watch the news. Just sit. If you have a deck, you go out and you just watch the birds. Look how the birds are carefree. Just flittering from tree to tree to tree to tree. Go for a walk. Take a nice warm bath. And just relax. Those are my self-care tips, what I do.
Bernice, you know what I love about that? I loved when you used the word wholesome. And this is definitely what this interview has been. It's been a wholesome interview. Thank you so much for sharing with the viewers what they can do to become a self-care enthusiast themselves. You're always invited back. Make sure you come back and give us some more.
Absolutely, at any time. Anytime. It's my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day, Bernice.
And likewise.